Well, hello, traders and investors. I'm LA Little, and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets. We do it from a neoclassical perspective each time, asking ourselves what happened today. What does it tell us about the coming ones? We do the show 4 times a week. Every Monday through Thursday. It's broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube. It's under the channel, LA Little. If you haven't subscribed, reached up in the right-hand corner. Subscribe each time I push content, whether it's the afternoon or evening or the morning or whenever it is. You'll get a notification and you can stay up to date with what's going on. As far as what happened today, they did finally finish it higher, about 1% on the NDX, almost the same on the NASDAQ, 3/4 on the S&P, and a little over half on the Russell. So the Russell's still lagging comparatively on the indexes. Overseas, the DAX and the CACs both were higher, both gave it up, and that was all about the currencies as the dollar lost ground and the euro and the yen worked higher. That, of course, put a bid underneath the commodities. This is kind of what we were talking about last night. We didn't know if these would be able to work higher or not. They did early, but then they started to giving it up. Over in Asia, you actually had some gains overnight. Yeah, tonight you've got the Nikkei going to be interesting because the Chinese government saying we're going to ease again. And anymore, folks, it's all about what's happening with currencies. You know, it's not about, if you're producing more, selling more. It's whether you're producing commodities or not. Whether you're producing currency devaluations or not. Currency devaluations are what's moving these markets. And as we see, quote unquote, a currency devaluation, so to speak, in the U.S., the U.S. market goes up. If you look at the FXE, right, you got the opposite. It works higher, that market gets hurt. If we look at Japan, Japan tries to work a little bit higher, and that market gets hurt. It's a trade-off in these currencies. Which one goes up any particular day? Not in terms of currency, which market index goes up any particular day is a large function of that is related to that currency and what the currency is doing. And so if we take a look at these currencies and ask ourselves where they're going to go, right, we still have range trades in almost all of these. So when I'm looking here at the FXE, for example, I'm taking that range off the Draghi disappointment and saying, okay, this is probably going to trade in this range for a while longer. And if that's the case, then we're getting towards the top of that range, and I would expect that's where it's going to find sellers again. And so as we look at these indexes, have to keep in mind what's happening with the currencies, because the currencies, for a large part, are driving everything with respect to these various markets. The only one that's not being driven by currencies is the oil market. And that market simply keeps giving it up day after day. Can't find a bottom. Let's see here. Today, 10.66 was the close. 10.52 was the close Friday. And you got under it. 10.52 was the low. 10.62 was the low. You close it at 66. So you got under it, back over it, less volume. Oil probably going to try to bounce tomorrow, and that actually would probably be a positive thing, because the one thing I noticed again today is that we saw the HYG, the junk bonds, trying to sell down again. If you remember last week, these were the problem children, and if they start to head south and start breaking out new lows, we're going to have more grief come into these markets. And so this is something to keep your eye on in the next day or two. As far as day or two, we've got Christmas coming up this Friday. You got a short day on Thursday. So the volumes are really going to trail off tomorrow and the next day. And so you're going to get very light volume. Typically, that's rally time this time of the year. Santa Claus rally. It usually cranks up the week after Christmas. Before Christmas, you get a little bit of a push as well. And then you carry that through until a few days after the new year. Whether or not this market's going to be able to push that much this time around is a different story. So let's take a look while we're here on this subject. Let's take a look at our markets. And what we're going to find is that we've got inside days. And we've got them pretty much across the board on all the indexes. Remember, Friday had a big move down. That was 2 days in a row down. Today it's just an inside day inside that. So big volume on Friday with options expiration. Lighter volume today as we get into the holidays. Inside days really are hard to tell anything from. If you look at it on a weekly, you're just trying to edge back up and over this bar. So that's 2020. We traded at 2021, so we're slightly over it. If you want to be bullish, you want to see it get back into these two big bars. Numbers there 2022, 2019. So right at what is going to be resistance, and tomorrow we'll see if they can get into it or not. Today, even up 0.75%, it doesn't even look like you moved on a weekly basis. And that, of course, has to do with just how much volatility we've had this particular year in this particular month. So I was looking here to see what the close was. That was the November close. You're at 2091 and you're trading at 2021, so you're 70 points down on the month. Let's take a look at the rest of these markets real quick. You're going to see inside days on all of them. So here's the NASDAQ, got a little hammer inside, but inside day. I don't find much benefit at all trying to guess where an inside day is going to go. NDX, same thing. And finally, let's look at the Russell. I believe the Russell is going to have the same setup, and it does. So inside day there too. So really not telling you anything. What's going to tell you something is when you get back into a point where you're trying to do something. So in other words, when you're inside day, it's not telling you anything. Now it did, the Russell, for example, did come into this bar, bounce back out, but still, you did it Friday with more volume, so it doesn't tell you anything. The real tell is going to be whether or not these markets can lift back up. The Russell, for example, can the Russell get back above that bearish retest regenerate zone? If it can't get back up here, right, nothing's changed. You still have some sort of a downtrend rollover type situation going on, and whether it's going to roll farther or not is the question, right? They say these H-type patterns are dangerous, and this is that type of a pattern. In other words, you get a big sell-off, you get a bounce, and then you try to roll it back over and break it out, right? And that's essentially an ABCD structure. So if you draw it, so many of these structures are the same things. They're just called different things. So if you take this and draw it in, right, you really got an ABCD structure potentially trying to set up here to take this thing much lower. That's the setup, and that's why it's so dangerous if it starts to break down. Okay. Overseas, nothing there. Let's see if we had anything useful to look at here on the sector. Starting with the biotechs, really nothing there. Just dojis. That's 2 in a row. Home builders, they've been getting hurt off the interest rates rising today. Now that one actually got over back under, had a little bit more volume, so that actually can trade higher again. So not a bad trade on the way back up. Let's see what the real estate, really nothing there in the REITs. The transports, remember last week, got it really hammered. They tried to lift today. Let me see. Let me get the transports just a second. Tried to lift today, and not much. Inside day, they're still hanging down here at the lows. Now, there was some strength in the semiconductors. Just big range up here. Still nothing there. I'm just trying to see if there's anything to give us a tell, because we don't have it on the indexes, and we don't have it elsewhere. These. Nothing on the XLB. Again, inside day, XLE. Now, XLE are back over, it looks like. 58.77. And, yep, did. So actually, it looks like you're going to get a little bump up in the energy sector, both on oil and on the stocks themselves. Financials, inside day, nothing there. XLI, same thing. XLK. Nothing there. XLP, Same thing, utilities, nothing, and healthcare, nothing, and finally discretionary. Now that one actually tested lower, and that one got under back over. So the discretionary also looks like it's going to try to get a rise. So very little in the way of signals tonight. The next week, 2 weeks, are going to be the same thing. You're going to have these slow grinds, and until you grind far enough to reach something of significance and then see what they want to do, you really have no tells here tonight. If I had to take any signal, I would take the currency signal, and those look like the dollar is going to try to stay a little bit weaker. FXE is going to try to move a little bit higher, and that should help U.S. equities. So small bias to the upside is the way it looks to me. That's it for tonight. Remember, Thursday, no show in front of Christmas, and it's a short day anyway. Wednesday we will have a show, of course, tomorrow as well as Wednesday. Until then, I'll see you next time. Take care. Thanks. Tell a friend, tell two. I'm LA. This is and was your daily NeoTA wrap. Have a great night. I'll see you next time.